You lose because you still feel, explain, and hope. Power belongs to those who stay cold while others bleed emotionally. If this disturbs you, stay. Chapter 1. The Lie of Emotional Strength. And you were never taught how to close the wound. You were taught to display it. You learned to vent, confess, justify, and explain. You learned to bleed in public and call it authenticity. But in every arena of power, courts, wars, markets, relationships, exposure is not courage. It is consent. The man who feels everything is not feared. He is forecasted. People do not need to attack him. They only need to wait for him to collapse into reaction. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. Not because he was cruel, because he was precise. He observed that rulers who ruled by emotion were overthrown, that generals who fought with anger made predictable mistakes, that lovers who loved loudly were controlled quietly. Emotion does not disappear when you suppress it. It sharpens when you command it. But you were trained to mistake restraint for repression, silence for weakness, detachment for emptiness. So you became expressive instead of strategic, sincere instead of selective, open instead of sovereign. You think people respect honesty, they respect leverage. You think people admire vulnerability, they study it. You think your pain earns loyalty, it earns positioning. This is the brutal truth. The world does not reward emotional depth. It rewards emotional discipline, not the absence of feeling, the absence of leakage. The predator feels. He simply does not confess. The ruler hurts. He simply does not perform. The sovereign bleeds, but never in front of witnesses. Your emotions are not the enemy. Your relationship with them is. Until now, you have lived like a man whose heart speaks louder than his will, and the world has listened, not with empathy, but with calculation. If this unsettles you, it should. Because the next shift is not about feeling less, it is about ruling what you feel. Chapter 2. The Mechanism of Emotional Control. Power does not move through intelligence. It moves through predictability. And emotion is the world's most accurate tracking device. Every time you react, you reveal your boundaries. Every time you defend, you expose your weakness. Every time you explain, you surrender authority. Machiavelli observed this mechanism in courts and kingdoms long before psychology named it. Those who could not govern their inner weather were governed by others, not through force, through timing. People do not dominate you by overpowering you. They dominate you by triggering you. Anger makes you loud. Fear makes you compliant. Desire makes you negotiable. Guilt makes you obedient. And the more emotionally expressive you are, the easier you are to map. You believe emotion makes you human. But in systems of hierarchy, emotion makes you legible. A strategist does not remove emotion. He delays it. He does not suppress anger. He stores it. He does not deny fear. He converts it into observation. Because the moment you feel, you are still sovereign. But the moment you react, you are owned. Most men lose not because they are weak. They lose because they are visible. Their enemies do not need to guess their next move. Their emotions already announced it. This is why calm unsettles people. Not because it is cold, but because it is unreadable. Silence is not emptiness. It is fog. And fog is where power moves. When you stop reacting, others begin projecting. When you stop explaining, others begin doubting. When you stop emotionally negotiating, others begin respecting. You were taught to express. But no one taught you that expression is a confession. This is not about becoming numb. It is about becoming untraceable. Because in every hierarchy, the man who is hardest to read is the hardest to control. And control is the only language power understands. Chapter 3. The Archetypes of Control, approximately 300 words. Every hierarchy sorts men into roles before it rewards them, not by talent, by temperament. Machiavelli understood this pattern with surgical clarity. There is the pawn. He believes sincerity protects him. He explains. He hopes. He waits to be chosen. He mistakes visibility for value. There is the performer. He speaks well. He smiles correctly. He adapts his... Chapter 4. Why feeling costs you everything. Approximately 300 words. Every loss in your life began with a feeling you trusted. Not logic, not evidence. Feeling. You felt loyalty. You felt hope. You felt attachment. And because you felt, you ignored what you saw. Emotion does not make you human. It makes you predictable. Machiavelli understood this before psychology had a name. He saw that emotion is not weakness by itself. Attachment is. Attachment to outcomes, attachment to people, attachment to approval, attachment to the story you want to believe. Emotion bends perception. Clarity requires distance. When you feel too much, you forgive patterns. When you feel too much, you tolerate disrespect. When you feel too much, you confuse intention with action. Emotion tells you who someone could be. Clarity shows you who they are. Machiavelli did not erase emotion to become cruel. He disciplined it to become accurate. The battlefield does not reward sympathy. The court does not reward hope. Power does not reward belief. It rewards observation. The moment you stop emotionally negotiating with reality, reality stops deceiving you. You begin to notice pauses, you notice inconsistencies, you notice who benefits, you notice who disappears when you no longer serve their story. Feeling makes you generous with access. Clarity makes you selective. Feeling makes you explain yourself. Clarity makes you let silence speak. Feeling wants connection. Clarity demands position. This is why emotionally driven men stay confused while colder men stay ahead, not because they are smarter, but because they are less contaminated by desire. You do not lose opportunities because you are unlucky. You lose them because you felt instead of measured. You did not trust the wrong people. You trusted without conditions. You did not forgive too much. You forgave without consequence. Emotion does not make you noble. It makes you visible. Invisibility is what predators feed on. Chapter 5. Silence is your first weapon. Most men think power is expression, speaking, explaining, proving. They confuse visibility with authority. Machiavelli saw the opposite. Power begins where reaction ends. The moment you stop rushing to respond, you create imbalance. The moment you stop justifying yourself, you shift control. The moment you stop revealing intention, you become unreadable. And unreadable men are never underestimated twice. Silence is not weakness. Silence is positioning. In war, movement reveals location. In power, speech reveals vulnerability. Every sentence you give away is a piece of leverage you no longer own. You think you are clarifying. They think you are negotiating. You think you are being honest. They think you are being measurable. Silence denies them measurement. Machiavelli understood that dominance is not built by pressure. It is built by uncertainty. When people cannot predict you, they begin to adjust to you. Restraint does not make you smaller. It makes others cautious. When you speak less, your words gain weight. When you react less, your reactions gain consequence. The world trains you to overshare, overexplain, overperform. Power trains you to observe, delay, withhold, not to manipulate, to control the frame. Because whoever controls the frame decides what matters. Silence lets others expose themselves. Silence lets motives leak. Silence lets hierarchy reveal itself. You do not need to dominate conversations. You need to dominate outcomes. And outcomes are shaped by positioning, not emotion. You are not invisible when you are quiet. You are dangerous. Because quiet men are not empty. They are calculating. This is where behavior shifts. Not by acting colder, but by acting later. Not by appearing powerful, but by allowing others to overextend. Power does not rush. It waits until the board exposes itself, and then it moves once. Chapter 6. Kill the old you. You power does not evolve. It replaces. The version of you that seeks approval cannot coexist with sovereignty. The version of you that explains cannot survive in hierarchy. The version of you that hopes to be understood is already compromised. Machiavelli never spoke of self-improvement. He spoke of self-elimination. The old identity must die, not emotionally, strategically. You were trained to believe your value comes from effort, from loyalty, from sacrifice. That belief made you useful, not powerful. A sovereign man is not defined by what he gives. He is defined by what he withholds. He does not chase belonging. He defines distance. He does not prove competence. He positions it. He does not beg for clarity. He creates uncertainty. The death is silent. No announcement, no rebellion, no drama. Just a withdrawal of the old patterns. You stop explaining. You stop seeking validation. You stop advertising your intentions. You stop correcting how others misread you. Because misinterpretation protects power. When people cannot categorize you, they must respect you. Your replacement identity is colder, but not cruel, detached, but not empty, selective, but not weak. You stop reacting to emotion and start responding to structure. You stop moving from desire and start moving from leverage. You stop asking what feels right and start asking what positions you. This is not confidence. This is sovereignty. The old self wanted to be liked. The new self accepts being feared, respected, or misunderstood. The old self chased fairness. The new self studies advantage. The old self needed permission. The new self only needs timing. Machiavelli's final lesson was never about power over others. It was about power over identity. And the moment you abandon who you were trained to be, you become who systems cannot predict. That is the beginning of real power. Chapter 7. Final warning. Most of you will turn back, approximately 300 words. This is where the path narrows, not because it becomes harder, because it becomes lonelier. Most men leave here, not out of weakness, but out of attachment, attachment to being liked, attachment to being seen as good, attachment to comfort disguised as morality. Machiavelli understood something modern minds refuse to accept. Power does not announce itself kindly. It arrives quietly, and it replaces whoever hesitates. You have now seen the pattern. Emotion is leverage, silence is weapon, detachment is dominance. Yet most will still return to the old script. They will go back to explaining, to pleasing, to proving, to begging reality for fairness, not because they disagree, because transformation requires isolation. The moment you stop needing agreement, you lose companions. The moment you stop seeking approval, you gain clarity. The moment you stop performing morality, you inherit freedom. This is the price. Sovereignty is not celebrated, it is tolerated and often resented, but it is never ignored. You will be misunderstood. You will be labeled cold. You will be called arrogant, distant, dangerous. Those labels are not insults. They are proof of separation. The herd only attacks what it cannot control. You now stand at a quiet border. On one side, comfort, belonging, safety through obedience. On the other, distance, awareness, and unshared power. No speech will push you across. No motivation will drag you forward. Only one decision remains. Will you continue needing permission, or will you begin choosing position? This channel is not here to grow numbers. It exists to filter. Most will leave, a few will remain, and those few will stop asking how to win. They will start deciding where to stand. If this unsettled you, you are still alive inside. If this clarified you, you are already changing. Welcome to Mindforge. Not everyone belongs here, and that is the point.